Hey, what's the word on the street? So, I want to talk about how I had a horrible incident raising dubia roaches. It was nasty, and I don't want people to go through the same thing that happened to me. And then afterwards, I'm going to tell you the correct way to go ahead and do this, which I actually learned from someone else. And so I'm going to relate my experience, but do your own research because there's people keep these things a lot of different ways. And my experience was I originally started with Madagascar hissing cockroaches. And the story is my youngest kid came home from school and he said, "Hey, Dad, my science teacher asked if I wanted to take home a Madagascar hissing cockroach." And I said I had to check with my parents first, see if it's okay. And I said, "Heck yeah, it's okay." But I got this great idea. And I'm like, "Hey, don't just get one, get two. And make sure there's a male and a female." Because in my mind, I'm thinking this is going to be hilarious because they're going to start breeding. And they did. And we were keeping them incorrectly. What happened was we were using just like cardboard and newspaper as a substrate. We were feeding them dog food and a little bit of a vegetable. We had too much water in there. All the paper got moldy. We weren't collecting the poop correctly, and it got really stinky. Roaches started dying. We didn't collect them out right away. Then maggots started appearing, and all the dead. This is a gross story, so fair warning. Maggots started appearing. There was eggs inside the container, and it just turned into a horrible, stinky, sloppy mess. And so we couldn't handle it anymore, so we got rid of them. Now I'm raising dubia roaches to collect for feeders for all my reptiles, tarantulas, scorpions, all those things. And I learned this method of keeping from someone else, and it turned out really good. And I want to share this with you along with my little story of how it all got started. And what I do is I take a black plastic container because roaches don't like light. On the top, I have a screen so they can get airflow, oxygen, a little bit of moisture release. Inside, I have egg crates and lots of roaches. They're breeding very nicely. Inside, it's hard to see, but what I have in there is a substrate of organic earth, some peat moss, a little bit of cocoa fiber mixed in. And with the roaches, I also have a water dish. And it's a very shallow water dish because they don't like to swim. And I also keep isopods. In there and springtails. Isopods take care of any leftover food. They take care of the poop issue. They also take care of dead bodies. Have I ever seen a dead body? No dead bodies. And the springtails clean up any mold or fungus that might be developing in there. Now, these things need to eat. And one thing I was not doing correctly was feeding these dubia roaches very well. And so what I switched over to was feeding them twice a week because when they weren't eating enough, they were not breeding. And so I barely had any roaches. Now I have tons. And one thing I do is I have the water dish. I also moisturize this thing twice a week usually. And I use a little spray. I'll show you right here. A little spray bottle with some water. If I use tap water, I usually let it sit out for 48 hours or so to get rid of any fluoride that's in there. But I spray down the soil that's in there because they do like a little bit of humidity. They don't like to dry out. The isopods especially like the humidity. And for food, what I do is a mixture of brewer's yeast, oats. I also crush up some eggshells in there. I mix it all in a blender. And the eggshells are more for the isopods, really. And I might actually be cutting down on the eggshells. But that's like calcium to help with their shell development and exoskeletons and everything. And I also do carrots. And the carrots I do separate. But the brewer's yeast, oats, and eggshell mixture, I mix it up with a blender, and I have a little food dish for them in there. And that's what I use for the food dish, is this mixture of Dubia chow, I guess. You could buy Dubia chow too, I guess. I haven't done that. And other people have other ways of doing this. This is what I've been using. I'm probably going to modify this mixture, but so far it's worked out really good for me. So I do that. I feed them once or twice a week. I also do carrots. And I rinse off the carrots really well, and I make sure the carrots don't have any leftover residual pesticides or anything like that that's going to kill the roaches. And I just clean it off really good. I break up a carrot and I throw it in there with them. They really like it. Any leftover food is going to be eaten by the isopods. They also like very warm temperatures. So what I do is I keep them up high near the ceiling of the apartment, where it's like the warmest, and I also have a heat mat on the side of the container, right here, that I have hooked up to a thermostat so it doesn't overheat or cook the roaches or anything. It's weird, a light just went out. I have that heat mat on the side so that it's not on the bottom closer to the roaches so that they don't overheat and get cooked or anything like that. Gosh, I don't think I'm forgetting anything. For oats, I just go to the store, I just buy regular oats, and I put that in the blender with the other mixture. The brewer's yeast, you can get that at grocery stores sometimes. Also, some feed mill stores, the farm supplies, they'll have it sometimes, but usually it's in a bigger quantity, more than what you usually need. But that's how I take care of my roaches. I really regret the way I was keeping the Madagascar hissing roaches. If I would do that again, I would definitely do bioactive because it just cleans up the smell. There's hardly any mess to clean up ever with the isopods and the springtails. And I really am glad that I went ahead and started raising the Dubia roaches as like feeders for all my critters, because it's much healthier. And it's convenient because sometimes when you go to the pet store and you try to buy crickets or anything like that, if there's been a winter storm or a holiday, their shipment gets delayed by a day, 2 days, a week or two, depending on the situation. And if there's like in my area, we get snowstorms. So if there's like a huge snowstorm, things can get knocked out for like a week or more. So yeah, if you have a lot of critters, I recommend raising Dubia roaches. It's pretty good for the animals. It's very nutritious. And I learned a lot from the whole experience. There's always something new I'm going to learn. This is the way I keep them now. In the future, that might change. I use a black container too, because they do not like light. They like darkness. And I actually keep this in a closet also. So it's a top shelf near the ceiling in a closet with a heat mat on a thermostat. So it's dark, it's warm, there's a little bit of moisture in the air. Make sure you feed them because they eat like crazy. They will just go to town on the eating. And that's all I have for you today. Hopefully this was helpful to you. I'm still, new at learning videos, how to make videos on YouTube. I'm more of a in-person type of person where I like to have face-to-face contact. Whole video thing's new to me, but I want to make better content in the future. I got a lot of things planned for this channel. So if you found this helpful at all and you would like to help me make better content, go ahead, like, subscribe, leave a comment saying, yeah, I enjoyed your video. Be nice, but if you want to leave a tip, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you'd show this or talk about that. Let me know. And until then, see ya.